welcome to the Dungeons of Doria channel, and today we want to unbox the prototype copy of Dungeons of Doria and see what is inside. It's the first time I'm seeing it myself, except a few small photos the manufacturer sent me, and I'm really excited to open this box and find out what's inside. So first of all, let's check the front and back covers. So bear in mind that all of this is still a prototype copy of the graphics on front, on the sides. So we will check everything out later and see what changes we will make for the final copy. But so far it looks pretty good already to have the front cover and see the graphics here, and in general the front cover looks amazing already, even if it's not the CMYK print and only a digital print, which might make it a bit darker, so it will look a bit more bright later on, but we will see. Besides that, all the sides are still the same that we had with the earlier prototype copies. So you can see Dungeons of Doria logo on all the sides. We are still thinking about maybe changing it a bit to make it sideways or something like this, but we will have a look later on. And on the back side, you can see that we have the game content, short introduction and everything, including the picture itself will change a little bit still, to include a newer initiative board, but that's small things. At the moment it says prototype not for sale, no barcode and other things, but everything else should be there. And other thing you can see, or not see, but I can feel it here, this is a very heavy box already. So the prototype itself is roughly 4.5 kilos, and it's very heavy. So far we calculated with 4 kilos, so it's a bit heavier than expected, but in general we can make that work for shipping later. So now I will just cut open the sealing. Try not to damage anything. Okay, perfect. So let's open this box. Heavy lid, so all fine. And the first thing you can see is all the token sheets. So there's should be 5 of them. Let's see. So you can see all the token sheets here. Come easy out, so be careful about it. So there's a lot of token sheets with dungeon tokens that you can put on the dungeon board itself, and the ones that you can put on characters or on monster cards. So let's put them aside here. Then there's the monster standees. So you can see all the other tokens you can put on the character sheets, on the initiative board, and so on. A few monster standees. Here's the second one with dungeon and character tokens. Here's the other character tokens, character standees, and a few more bigger monsters. Here's one of the ones that you don't know yet, so that's a small surprise for everyone. We had one space left here for another monster, and a friend of mine wanted to get a female zombie, so that's what we have now. So that will be an additional boss monster card and can be used in other scenarios that you would like. And in general, I already like the standees. We might need to, I can already see we might need to extend the cutting lines a bit so to make more space, to avoid accidentally cutting of something, but in general everything is in the lines, in the cutting lines, and it looks good so far. And the second sheet, you can see it's exactly the same amount of monsters, on as compared to one of the other sheets here. You can see it probably here still a bit on the side. So it's pretty much exactly the same cutting line, just with different monster colors, and in this case here the different dragon, so you can then use that later. Let's flip it over to the other side. Let's see. So you can see it's still the same monster types, just a flat surface here for the cutting, because cutting happens on the other side here, and you can see that for example the names are also just mirrored, but the picture is the same, just mirrored on the other side. Okay, let's see. Now the next step are the rule books, and we can already see the plastic tray. So Hope Games has changed my layout a bit, apparently, to fit everything snuggled in into the box, and so nothing moves around. So we can see all the rule books. So that's a lot of rule books already. If I just get them out here, you can see that's a lot of different books. So first of all comes the book of rules, including all the rules, a few pictures. Looks good so far. Enough space. I would say the font size is also fine. You can directly read everything. It's not too small. There's a lot of examples with pictures in it. A few of these pictures we still need to change here. You can see that there's still the old monster icon, but we will change all these for the final print. But in general, feels good, looks good, and has everything in here, including most of the featured Kickstarter supporters already, and the index. For the ones of you that saw, for example, the Dungeon Dive video, we on GameCrafter, the rulebook was split on page 40, and then a second rulebook was added with the rest of the parts. Now this time in the final print you will have a complete rulebook including everything. Okay, perfect. So let's see. Here's the quick start guide. That's a very thin one with only 12 pages, and gives you an overview of how to play, how to create a character, preparing a character, and give you rundown of the first few rounds of a game, including a few sample fights and everything, and the table setup in general. So yeah, all is here, and looks also good. Then we should have, let's see. So we have the single scenarios. So if you want to, so there's a small error here on the side, but I think in general it looks still pretty good and gives this a slightly used feeling, but still looks very great. And the single scenarios contains 20 standalone scenarios to play. So you can just pick a scenario, one of these 20 ones mentioned here, and then just start playing, setting up, and finishing the scenario within one evening usually, and then just throw away the characters and start from fresh next time. Then there's this new book. So let's see how this worked out. That's the room events, one of the additional things. You can see this is the prototype version, which still has a few missing events, but in general I think the graphics also look great in the printed version, so it's already looking very good. And in general you would just pick a room, if you reveal a room, then you just roll on the event table. If you want to play out an event here or something like this, then you can just roll on it or just pick an event, whatever suits you best. Okay, perfect. And then we have the 4 campaigns. So you can see this is the biggest one here, the Book of Destiny. Book of Destiny is about an epic one where you can select a lot of different scenarios, which way you want to go. If you want to go, for example, north or south, you will then encounter different enemies, different scenarios, specialized more on the frozen north or the heated south, and depending on that you will encounter a complete different campaign and other things to do. Then we have also the Power of the Elements, Invasion of the Greenskins, and Grim Reaper. So all included here. Let's quickly check. Yeah, the monster graphics here look really great, especially the Power of the Elements. We added the boss monster of some of the scenarios, for example in the air element that you will retrieve. It's called about lightning, and therefore the end boss was also the dark sorceress with lightning powers, so you will have to fight her. Or on the earth scenario, it's the gargoyle made of stone and so on. So you will see all these boss monsters here then in a big picture to look at. And the same for Invasion of the Greenskins, where we have a lot of greenskins, and all of these, for example this troll here, is then part of the scenario, and then we added, where we had space, a few of these monster pictures. Grim Reaper, that's more about undead and the death that you have to fight, also all included. This is the new initiative board. Let's see. So feels sturdy and great. We had included here the circular design with the background that also swirls a bit. And on the other page, on the other side, you have just a normal one. And you can see also this one has a more rope design to connect all the things, and this one has more of a wooden design to connect all the fields, but in general, yeah, pretty much the same except for the layout itself. So you can choose which one suits you best then. And you can see these things here are pretty much fixed already, so that's looking good, and also very sturdy character mats, so they also look great. I hope they will look a bit more radiant with the colors later on, because this is one, as a reminder, is a digital print, but I think they already look good. Let's see, I can see a few minor problems here where color has been removed or something like this, but I will check this again then with the CMYK color print and see if everything is fine, but in general it looks good. So we have all the characters, 8 of them, for male, for female, all of them included here, and on the back side you will have the full picture, so for those of you that just want to choose a character based on looks, then you can just pick one here. Okay. And Hope Games has included a few Ziploc bags. Yeah, in general we will need them later for the tokens, and let's see that we can then check them out later. So here's one of the things I can already see. This is the prototype only, and Hope Games just included, let's say, random dice in the correct colors, but in this case you can see already that they have the wrong numbering. It's D100 or something like this. And you can see that a few of them have thicker prints and thinner prints. I want all of them to look the same basically, but in general, yeah, it's exactly as expected: 4 black dice, 4 white dice, and then 2 in each of the player colors. But in general, yeah, I think that's a minor issue to work out with Hope Games, and most likely due to the prototype here. But yeah, we will check that later again. Here's all the standees. Let's see. So we have a lot of transparent standees, and you will use these for the monsters typically. So let's see, and we have a few colored ones, and these are slightly different than the transparent ones. Let's see. So the green one, for example, it has a very low entry point, and I don't believe these will fit. Most likely these are just samples. You will receive these in a colored space. I don't know if these are really wide enough for the standees. Let's see, I will check that out later. So we have the 6 player colors most likely. Yeah, so all of the 6 player colors. I would say red and orange is a bit hard to distinguish, but yeah, maybe we can get a brighter red or darker red or something like this to make it more different, but the rest is fine, I think. Besides the form, we will check that later on when we do create the standees. Next up here is the pads. So you can already see it's a very thick pad for character sheets. Overall should be 80 character sheets, and on the back side you can see the character to write down the character attributes and HP and everything, and on the front you have the ones where you have the small tokens to move around, and yeah, it's up to you what you want to use, which side, or if you even want to use both sides, so one time with this one and one time with the back side, and then you have up to 160 character sheets, and I think that's more than enough for a few games to play. And it's glued together here at the back, so you can just pull it off and then just put it next to the character mat, so it will look something like this for the character sheet, and then you can start playing directly. And that's the campaign overview, and on the back of the campaign overview we will also have the campaign notes, where you can just write down additional character names or other things that you want to note down for the campaign, and on the front you will just have some space to put in the scenario names, notes, and XP and monster points to track everything you need for the campaign itself. Okay, then we only have the cards left, and you can already see it's easy to get them out, but they are fit in pretty tight. So Hope Games did not add any space for anything you want to have, for example, for sleeved cards or something like this. But one of the problems I see anyway is you can already see these are all the mini cards, and it's really hard to really fit more space in here. We would need to make the box massively bigger, for example 50 centimeters in one direction at least, to fit much more space in here. So most likely we won't be able to really fit in sleeved cards, but at least for the dungeon cards I want to have a little bit more space here. That would be possible, and for the bigger cards to have a bit more space, so you can then use this one to yeah, fit in more directly. Okay, then let's start with the dungeon cards. That are the ones that I'm most excited about. Let's see, and I want to have the look and feel. One of the things also I directly noticed here is that Hope Games used plastic shrink. What we wanted to see was we wanted to have paper banderoles around everything, so that we avoid a bit of plastic waste here. But so far, yeah, I need to talk to them again that we will receive the next prototype then with paper banderoles. So let's see. So these are pretty nice. They're still shuffleable without any problems, so you can still shuffle the cards. But at the same time, they're pretty sturdy. And if I put them here, down here, so you can build the dungeon. So that seems to be working nicely and next to each other. No warping or something like this, and the corners have just a slight small little corner cut, so it still looks like a square room, but you don't hurt your fingers if you touch the corner. So let's see, here's the entry stairs, so all pretty fine within range. You can see all the walls, and everything looks fine, great. Yeah, so these should work out nicely. I will see if we can make them even a bit thicker than they are at the moment. Let's see. And for the colors, even the dark ones here, you can see parts of the walls and abyss here down here. So that seems to work fine. Okay, then we can just put them back in here. Let's see. So there is a bit of space, but I would say if you want to sleeve these dungeon tile cards, then it's not enough space, definitely not. So we have to check that out later. Then let's see the boss, monster and dungeon cards. These are split over two different decks. I would love to have only one big pile of dungeon cards or one boss monster cards and so on. But let's see if we can change the layout a bit to accommodate for this. But with the campaign overview sheets and so on, it might not work out. So let's see that later. But I will check with Hope Games if we can change the layout of the plastic tray a bit more. So open the cards here. So these seem to be a bit, yeah, I have to get them a bit separated, but in general, yeah, they seem to be not like glued together, but similar. Oh, you can see a slight misprint here, missing black color, but that's the only card apparently. There's also a few missing white parts sometimes on some of the cards here, apparently on the side, something like this, or in the middle. So yeah, that's definitely one of the things I don't want to happen here. In this case, you can barely read magic being, so yeah, let's see. That we can avoid this if we need some extra UV print or something like this on top of the cards. But in general, so if we just look at some of the cards, it's easily readable, and yeah, you can make out all the general, yeah, but you can see it's missing a lot of things. So it seems that some of the black is just missing, so we need to check with the manufacturer then. Might be that it's just because of the digital print here of the other process being used, but in general, yeah, so if something like this happens in the end production, then we will need to do it again and check that this is not happening. So let's see, and we have all the monster level cards, so later on you will be able to sort them based on the back here. So in this case all of these are boss monster cards, so that's the boss monsters. Then we have a few cards in terms of helping you out. And you can also see a slide of a side print. It's still within range, you can see the whole card, but on the back you can, on the front it's fine, on the back it's shifted a bit, but it's all within range, let's say. But let's see if we can also get this sorted out a bit. So these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards for helping you out a bit. Then we have all the player cards, character cards. Let's see, so all the 8 characters with all their default values, and if you want to just draw out a random character or something like this, then you can use these. And then we have the monster level 4, monster level 3 card in between here. Let's see, so basically it's all level 4. And we should have level 3, 2, 1 on this deck here. Okay, they're all slightly glued together. Okay, much better. And you can see it's level 3, then level 2, and finally level 1 monsters. So yeah, so we have all the levels here. Let's see, if we just put them in here, you can already see if you sort them out, for example, by levels and the other cards, it's not fitting in. It's you have to move over level 4, for example, to the other side to fit it in correctly here. My wish would be to at least have all the level cards in the same spot or something like this, but let's see if we can work that out. Okay, then let's see, finally, all the loot cards and other mini cards. We have the loot deck, the standard items deck. Let's see what else we have here. There's also the monster deck and the door events. More loot, and more loot cards. So overall, a lot of loot, as expected. And let's see. Oh, so there's only a few standard items here, and the rest is monster deck. So that looks good. No misprints apparently here on this one. A slight, here's a slight white border at the end. So that should also not happen, because we already have a lot of overprint bleeding already planned in. So yeah, I that also seems to be shifted too much outside the variants. But in general, the colors look good. You can see all the monsters. Here's the monster modifiers, where you can see monsters that are different or with all the nice little small pictures, illustrations. And you can see all of that great. So that seems to work out fine. So let's see. And I would love also to have some kind of separator here for the mini cards. So we can have all the monster deck cards, for example, and then later on have it separated by type or something like this. Yeah, you can see here, there's also a lot of misprint. That should not happen. So we will have to check that also. Okay, that's more monster cards. It's only on the front, the misprint, the back seems to be okay. But yeah, so with all these variants, and here we have again a few of them where we're missing black color. Yeah, so this definitely needs to be checked by Hope Games and seen if we can avoid this in the future in the real print. So what I will do is I will make photos of the ones that I think are misprinted or wrong, and will then check it then with the manufacturer. So it's a lot of work around just getting better quality and other things, but in general I think that if it's just a digital print, so yeah, not a huge problem here. And these cards are separated already, so these are not like glued together, so these work fine. But in general, yeah, so you can see a lot of traps. So one of the things you have to do then later on before the first play, you will need to mix the traps in, otherwise you will have all the traps in one go. And one of the things we did was adding a few more traps later on, and these illustrations are finished now, but for the prototype some of them did not make it. But yeah, you will get 30 more trap cards, including everything here. So that looks great in general. Also a few white spots here that I saw, but yeah, that's a general issue that we will talk about. Okay, yeah, and a lot of armor. You will have the whole armor deck here that will need to be mixed in also with the other cards. So what I usually do when I receive the first prototype, I will then simply go ahead, take all the loot cards, separate them by type, and then mix everything one by one, and put one of each type on top of each other, and later on then give it a good shuffle, and then it should be fine. Okay, here's more armor, a lot of potions. So these all look great in general here, but you can see it again here, a bit of white, black misprint. So yeah, that's the same as we already saw on the monster cards. But besides that, they look great. So let's see. That's the last loot deck type, most likely. Yeah, so all of them loot cards. Now we have all the spells. A lot of different ones. Here's a bit weapons, shields, hammer, flails, daggers, swords, yeah, so, and wands, so all of them included here, which some of them with special activation types, weapons, and special area effects or something like this. And let's see, here's the rest of the staffs or magic wands, special weapons, throwing weapons, and then there should be the projectile weapons, bows and arrows and things like that. Okay, all here as expected. So all this part here is just the loot decks, and you will separate them in 3 decks to play and shuffle them around. So let's see, what else do we have here? So this should be up to this point here, the door event deck. Let's see. So yeah, front or backside looks pretty good, and front is also pretty similar. There's in the door event deck you will have 15 no event cards, so you can shuffle them in if you want to, or you will just have just use the rest of the deck without the no events to make it a bit harder, or just shuffle a few of no events in, whatever suits you best. But in general, I would recommend to use the no events just to make sure that sometimes a door opens normally, and other than that, sometimes you will have a door that pulls you out into the room, or sometimes the door is just rusty and takes longer time to open. So there's some small surprises when you try to open a door, explore a room, and might change things a bit later on. So, and let's see, in the rest of the cards we should have all the campaign items in red. So you will have these for special things. You can see the name of the campaign here. Book of Destiny, for example, has a few. Then Power of the Elements, you will receive the element types later on within the campaign. And for Grim Reaper, all the items that the Grim Reaper itself is using, like his Cloak of Shadows or the Book of Souls, you can acquire and then use them yourself later on in the game. And we have the standard items, and these are the ones that you should know already. So you can see here that in this card I can directly see that it's also shifted to the left a bit, but in general still looks okay, so not a huge problem. And every character definitely has 2 of the standard items. However, we also added a few more standard items for these new standard characters. The new ones we added within the campaign, within the Kickstarter campaign, and most of these should also be usable by the standard characters, so you can then pick a few different ones, either you want more armor or use a lockpicking tool or something like this, and the standard characters mostly will also be able to use these depending on the standard characters. Yeah, they also look great, so that's all as expected here. But yeah, getting special cards out here of the deck is, if you want to just have, for example, the standard items for the beginning, we will need to check out how we can separate these or make this a bit different to show a different sorting or something like this, separator cards or something like this, but we cannot use any that are sticking out at the top, because otherwise you won't be able to put all of these things in again. But in general I like that this one here fits in pretty nicely with everything on top of it. So getting the game back into the box again is pretty easy. but yeah, we will have to see. And especially where I'm not sure in this case here where the monsters should be stored and the tokens, because all the other things are already pretty tight in here. So we can put a few monsters in here and put a few dice maybe. No, only works here. So yeah, it's pretty tight already. We definitely need more space for tokens and the monster standees in some way, and because at the moment it only has the space here for the punch boards, and yeah, you won't be able to fit these in later on in that way. So we definitely need to check that out, because I want this plastic tray to be sure to to get easily to play. Might be that we need to increase the box size a bit or something like this. I don't know, but we will check that later. Okay, and I will come back later on when I punched all the standees and monsters to see how everything fits in, and yeah, what we can do when we have all of them punched out already. Oh, that was wrong. Let's see. Yeah, already does not fit in correctly. Let's see. Yeah, it's pretty tight already, but working. Okay, that was it, first part, and let's come back with the second part later. Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of the unboxing. So yeah, I punched out all the tokens, and you can already see there was a slight misprint also. They added the cut lines on some of the parts, so you can see some yellow or other colored lines on some of the tokens, on the back side for example. On the front it looks great, but in general, yeah, that's also just a minor issue, so we can just remove the line, and then should be good to go then. Also, one of the token sheets was the other way around, so instead of the back we received it on the front, so it looks slightly different than expected, but in general also not a big issue. We just need to change the order of the files here to make sure that the front side really is printed on the front. A bigger issue we found was that with all these standees, we have two different type of standees here, and this one here for the characters, for the 6 character colors, is more something like a card standee. So you can directly see here it fits perfectly for a card, so you can put cards on your table, but that doesn't help us for the standees because they just won't fit in here, and it's just, yeah, too narrow to fit in. So we will need other standees definitely for these. Most likely it's also due to the prototype here that they just sent something that had the correct color, but yeah, just won't fit the punch boards. These ones here, the transparent standees for the monsters, they are also a bit too tight, so we will need other ones that are a bit broader, because you most likely will damage your punch boards here, the standees, when trying to fit them in. So we will definitely reorder these and see if we can get other ones that are fitting punch boards much better, because I don't want to, normally you stay with the same monster, and so you don't remove them all the time, but especially on the character standees, we wanted to have different colors, so you can just pick your favorite color for the Huntress, for example, but next time you play, you might want to play the Shield Maiden and then change the color to the Shield Maiden. So yeah, we want them to fit, but not too tight, so you don't damage the punch boards. So we will need to address this issue. One of the other issues is that the box definitely is too small. So I will have to check out and see what we can do about this. If we either change the plastic tray in some way, or get a bigger box, higher box, or something like this. I want to keep the 30 by 30 centimeter print here, but the height is fine with me if we change that. So it might get a bit higher. At the moment we are at 10 centimeters for the height, so you can see that here, most likely we will need to get to, I don't know, 13 to 15 centimeters to fit all the standees, monster standees and character standees in. And it would be great if we would have some kind of space to put the standees in. But in the end, worst case is that you have to have some kind of Ziploc bags where you put all the monsters in, all the characters in, or monsters separated into different Ziploc bags, for example, and then you can just put them on top. In general, I want to have some possibility to organize the content a bit more, especially the tokens and the standees. So it's easier to get to play directly out of the box instead of sorting everything and make sure that everything is fine directly to play the game after opening the box and start playing. Just choose a scenario and that's it. But if worst case, the plastic tray and the box is just a transport box, and we need some other possibilities later on to get everything sorted in some way or something like this. Let's see. So that's it for the moment. But in general, the standees, they really look great. They fit perfect and look like expected, and you can see them from both sides. They are within the print margins, and everything looks perfectly fine. So that's all great. So it's only the box itself, the parts of it with the plastic tray that we need to have a look at, and especially these standees. But most likely, I will discuss it with Hope Games. Most likely they can send me a replacement for these, so we can test out the standees with the correct ones then later on. Okay, that's it. Have a fun day, and talk to you soon.